criminal history, one prior violation that we've been able to find.
He says the officer was responding to a report of a man chasing a woman down the street with a gun. It was a go for a Falcon 9 rocket carrying 4 astronauts to the International Space Station. It blasted off before the sun came up at Cape Canaveral. Correspondent Peter King was there.
That bright orange flame in the sky, that deafening roar of 9 Merlin rocket engines means that 3 astronauts, 1 Russian cosmonaut on their way to the International Space Station. A beautiful sight, an artificial sunrise here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Monday's launch scrubbed at the last minute because of a problem with the ignition. Dow up 101. This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Discover credit cards automatically double all the cash back you earn at the end of your first year, which means... Wait, hold up. Question for the audio engineer.
Go ahead.
Did I read that right? Discover automatically doubles all your cash back?
Yeah, that's what the script says.
So if I get a Discover card right now, I can earn twice the cash back.
Apparently. Wait! Unlimited first-year cash back match, only from Discover. See terms and learn more at discover.com/match.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked!
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
The Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and online at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Krause on a beautiful Thursday morning in beautiful downtown Murfreesboro on WGNS with the Roundtable, and we are very, very delighted to have with us this morning a gentleman who plays a significant role here in the community for our present and future generations. We have the Director of Schools for the Murfreesboro City School System. It's Dr. Trey Duke. Trey, welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me today.
And what a great young man who brings a spirit and brings a passion to education. Boy, if we had more men and women like you in the world of education, we wouldn't have a problem in the world.
Well, I tell you what, it's a great field, and I say there is no better work than being able to know every day you're trying to do something to make the future of this city brighter and better, and we have such a great community, and we want to keep it strong, and our schools are the way to do that.
And you're not only trying, you're achieving. Not even going to go on scores, but you know, the graduates that I see from Murfreesboro City and then Rutherford County, you know, are second to none. Fantastic.
We have great community, we have great teachers, and that's really what starts all of it.
Well, let's first talk about Trey Duke, where you were born, where you were raised, what you have done in your life, education and professionally, and what has brought you to today, Thursday.
Well, excellent. So I grew up here in Rutherford County. So
a local boy.
Local, yeah, that's right. I actually grew up on the north end of the county in Laverne. My father worked at the Bridgestone plant there, and so we lived in that area. Have a kind of unique background with school. I went to public school, spent time at Roy Waldron in Laverne, actually spent a couple years being homeschooled, and actually spent a few years in a private school where my mother was the secretary. So I've had all that experience and of different types of schooling, which I think gives me a unique perspective on the power and the beauty of public education as a whole. But after graduation, MTSU was where I went. 3 years, 3 different degrees at MTSU, so I say I am true blue through and through.
And they didn't give you a special parking space?
No, they did not give me one, but listen, I'm still on campus quite a bit, so if President McPhee is listening and wants to make that happen, I won't turn it down.
We will send a letter of recommendation.
Yeah.
And after you graduated from MTSU, were you working on your graduate degrees while teaching? Or?
Not immediately.
Okay.
I went to teaching first. I actually was very lucky. I was student teaching at David Urey Elementary in Smyrna. Had a great experience there and was offered a job during that student teaching time upon graduation. So spent 4 years teaching 4th and 5th grade at David Urey Elementary. After that, I transferred to Stewart's Creek Elementary, also in Smyrna.
Okay.
Great campus. It had just recently opened. Got that wonderful experience for 2 years there teaching 5th grade. Different types of populations I was able to work with, and really began to see how all of our students have different needs and the importance that we as a school system work to meet that individual need of students.
As my wife, who was a teacher for 32 years, said, teaching 4th and 5th grade, it's the most ideal 2 classes to teach because they're still young and wanting to learn. They're mature and wanting to be, and they're not 6th graders who believe they are.
Now, as someone who is married to a former middle school teacher, I would agree that 4th and 5th grade is a great place to be. After those 2 years at Stewart's Creek, got my first administrative position at Smyrna Elementary School. I was assistant principal there for 2 years, and then after that became the principal of Smyrna Elementary for 2 years, and then actually moved to the Rutherford County Central Office, where I oversaw several different things, specifically intervention, working with students who were academically in need of catching up and needing of some additional supports. Worked in the instructional technology space, and then also worked with federal programs and looking at the federal grants we received and managing those programs. So really had my hand in a lot of different pots from a district perspective as well, but my heart was always with the school, and I used to have a bucket list kind of item, which I said my goal was to be a principal of a brand new school, and to start a school from the ground up was a bucket list item. And where I live on the west side of town, I noticed next to our neighborhood they started clearing a field, and all of a sudden I noticed they started building a brand new school right there next to my neighborhood. And so I realized the school, it was Salem Elementary. At that time, it didn't have a name in Murfreesboro City Schools. So I gave Dr. Linda Gilbert a call and said, hey, I think I may be interested in applying for the principal position. And she called me in and we had a conversation. And very shortly after, I found myself as the principal of a brand new school about to open.
And somebody bought a sailboat and took it back from Salem.
I said there was nothing better than being able to start a school community from the ground up. And
including
it was
hiring the staff and the teachers.
Hiring the staff, everything from picking out furniture to hiring the staff to the organization of it, and getting to meet parents and really build a culture of what are we going to be for our community. And it was definitely a highlight of my career, opening that school.
And I'm assuming yesterday, a 2-year anniversary was also a highlight of your career.
It was, yeah. So after I spent 2 years at Salem, of course, after Dr. Gilbert's untimely passing, which really was a shock to all of us in the city school system for just the legacy that she had and what she did for this community. But when that position opened up, I felt like I love Murfreesboro City so much. I love the city. I love the community. I love what the school system stands for. And I really wanted to see if the board felt like I would be the right person to take it to the next chapter. So was glad to apply. Really appreciate the board, the trust they put in me, specifically Mr. Campbell, our board chair, and the rest of the board. And yes, as of yesterday, I've been on the job as director of schools for 2 years.
Well, happy anniversary, and may you have many more wonderful, fruitful, and productive years with the Murfreesboro City Schools.
I hope so. It's been a fun and exciting 2 years. We've got a lot accomplished, got a lot of great things on the horizon, and I truly am so blessed to work in this city every day.
For many of our residents and listeners throughout Rutherford County, many are familiar with Murfreesboro City Schools, but take us through the description of Murfreesboro City Schools, the number of schools, what it covers, its objectives, its goals.
Absolutely. It's funny, we think of ourselves as a small school district here in Murfreesboro City Schools, and I say that because we're surrounded by the giants, right? We're surrounded by Metro Nashville and Williamson and Rutherford and Wilson. But when you look at our school system as a whole, we are still, when you look at the 145 school districts in the state of Tennessee, we're the 22nd largest of 145. We have over almost 9,500 students that we serve in 13 schools across our city. Obviously, we're growing very quickly. That's pre-K all the way up to 6th grade that we serve. We feed into the Rutherford County school system, so we have a great relationship with Dr. Sullivan and the Rutherford County school system as well. We're a very diverse school district. We have schools that are relatively small that may have 350 students in it. Then we have schools that are relatively big with over 1,000 students in it. I always like to point out that the majority of our students in Murfreesboro City students are minority students. So the changing face of Murfreesboro as we continue to grow as a city. So about 45% of our students are white, about 25% of our students are black, and 16% are Hispanic. So really a diverse school system, which I think is just one of the powerful and great things about our school system. And we're working really hard every day to meet every need of every student.
And talk about also a wonderful resource and certainly an asset to this community are your teachers and staff.
Yes, we do. We are so blessed with our teachers, with our staff. We have almost 800 certified personnel or certified teachers and administrators that work with us in the district, and they are truly some of the most committed individuals that I've seen. And I will say, we always talk about doing what's best for kids, and we talk a lot about making sure we're making decisions that are best for kids. And I believe strongly the best thing we can do for a child is put a healthy, a supported, and a well-trained teacher in front of them every day. So that's what our goal is, making sure our teachers are supported, they're well-trained, and that they have the skills they need. And our teachers get a lot of recognition, and we're really proud of that. Last year alone, we had 3 of our teachers who received 3 of the biggest awards in education. Aaron Nunley, who teaches at Overall Creek, was the finalist for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Teaching Science.
Fantastic.
Kim Inglis from Black Fox was the Middle Tennessee Teacher of the Year. And Raven Brooks, also from Black Fox, was awarded the Milken National Educator Award. We were the only district in the state of Tennessee to have a teacher represented in every one of those 3 main categories, and we are just so proud of the work that they do.
Well, you must be doing something above and beyond, including motivation. And let's talk about motivation. How do you motivate a teacher? How do you motivate a young man or young woman or a person re-entering the work field to take teaching not as a job, not even as a career, but as a passion?
I think it starts with wanting to make sure that our community stays a wonderful community. And I really look at what we do in education as building, again, the future of Murfreesboro. And that's something we take really seriously, that in our classrooms are our future mayors, our future councilmen,
presidents,
presidents, business leaders, the people that are going to make this city great for years and years to come is who we are investing in right now. And so really when you go into teaching, it's not just about making an immediate difference. It's really about leaving your thumbprint on that long-lasting impact of the city. We were speaking beforehand, I mentioned my mother-in-law, who I think is a great example of that, taught for 39 years in Smyrna. And when I go anywhere with her in Smyrna, it's adults of varying ages coming up and talking to Miss Mays and the impact Miss Mays had on that classroom. And, I think that's really what teaching is about. It's about making sure that our community is strong and that we are taking care of the future.
Let me go back to history. When did you first even give the thought or the idea that you wanted to be in education?
I think it's one of those things I always knew. So when I went to MTSU, I knew immediately I was going to enroll in the College of Education. I knew that's what I was looking to do. I always say I can't remember not wanting to be in education and be a teacher. And so it's been a great avenue for me, and it's been very good to me, and it's been very good to my family. And I always say, if you have that desire to teach, if you have that desire to work with our students, it's hard to run from that because you always seem to get drawn back to it no matter where you go.
Exactly. And we have a lot of folks listening who are grandparents as well as parents. And if a grandparent or a parent were talking to the young son or young daughter, young granddaughter, young grandson, and talking about careers or fields to go into, what would you tell them to use as motivation to a young person who has not quite made up their mind where their journey would be in life to consider education as a journey?
Well, I think I tell them to think about what is it that they feel that call to, right? Because it's not always about the pay. And we're proud of the pay that we offer our teachers in Murfreesboro City. We obviously want to continue to be at the to be very competitive in that pay, and we work hard to do that. But we also know it's about the passion for the work, and we want to make sure that we're giving teachers opportunities to do what they do best, which is reach kids and work with kids. And I would tell, whether it's MTSU students or other people who are interested in it, if you're really committed to saying, I want to make a difference and I want to help the future of this community, we want to talk to you, we want to bring you in. And that may be whether it's teaching or not. We have lots of opportunities in our district for employment if you want to help kids, whether that's a bus driver, whether it's a midday assistant, which is someone who comes in and just works a few hours a day, whether it's an educational assistant or in our cafeterias. We have a lot of opportunities to be involved in the school system, and we would love to talk to you about what we can do to make you part of our team.
How would they get in touch with the Murfreesboro City Schools?
Great. They can go to our website, which is just cityschools.net. So
That's
www.cityschools.net.
One more time?
www.cityschools.net. And there's a lot of information about job opportunities there. And we want to make sure that anyone that wants to be part of the team has that opportunity. We're always looking for great people because we know that we are really an organization of people. That's what education is. We are people helping other people. And so we want to have the best. And so come join us.
How would you describe, perhaps the first time or many, many times, I'm sure, in your experience, when you see a child has just discovered what you have taught them, and they discovered that the concept of 2 + 2 = 4, they've discovered that water runs downhill, they've discovered any other basic concept of math, science, English, history, social studies, they've discovered. What is the thrill you get from seeing the expression on a child?
I think really it's about knowing that something you've done is making a difference for this child. I'll never forget a personal story. My first year teaching, I was a new teacher, probably not very good at it, right? That first year as I was learning the job, but I had great mentor teachers and great partner teachers that helped me. But one of the things I did that year with my students was we learned all the presidents. And so we sang a song and we learned from Washington to, at that point, it was, I think, President Bush at that point. And we learned all the presidents in order. And for this 4th grade class, they loved it, they sang it, but for me the great part was many, many years later, I got stopped in a grocery store by a former student who at this point was in college and was majoring in looking at his future and what he was going to major in, and we were having a conversation. He said, Mr. Duke, he said, I still remember that president song and I still sing it all the time in my head. And it sounds simple, but it's that whole idea that you really are giving and unlocking this knowledge to hopefully make students want to unlock even more on their own.
And when you talk about the former presidents, I would share this somewhat of as a example that William Henry Harrison, president back in the 19th century, was 5'3" and weighed 90 pounds. So I said, success and opportunity and awards and achievement can occur not if you're 6'2", 200 pounds, but you can be a little guy and still do well.
That's right, and we want to make that possible for all of our students.
Let's take some of the programs and activities that Murfreesboro City Schools is doing. Let's start with the pre-K. Let's start with the little kids. Have to be how old to be in it?
Yeah, so pre-K, we start at 4 years old, so that's really that first year before starting kindergarten. We have 2 different pre-K programs that we offer. One is our voluntary pre-K position, or voluntary pre-K program, which is open to students, and it's based on really family income. And the goal of that program is to make sure that there's free, affordable pre-K for families that otherwise may not be able to afford it. So we have that program. We also have our integrated pre-K program. Our integrated pre-K program is for students who may have special needs that have been identified early with maybe a disability or a unique learning challenge, to allow them to get into school early so we can help start beginning the services and therapies they need. Within that integrated program, we also have what we call typical peer models, which would be students that work with those students with disabilities to help make sure that they have a strong educational experience. So lots of different opportunities for our pre-K. We'll actually start enrollment very soon for next year. So again, if you have a child that's going to be 4 next year and not ready for kindergarten, that you think would benefit from a pre-K program, or if you know someone that would benefit, we encourage you to go to our website, look and find that information there, because we know that early interventions matter, and we know that getting students in that formal school setting early is going to have a long-term impact on them.
Have you been able to evaluate how a child who's been in pre-K does in their school journey?
Sure, and there's lots of different studies out there about that impact, and we know that especially for that first year in kindergarten, it really helps set them up for success. One of the things that we're really focused on in Murfreesboro City is literacy and reading, and increasing the literacy rate of our students. We want to be the fastest growing district in the state in terms of reading achievement. We know that reading is the key to future success, and so we want to make sure our kids are prepared to do that. And so we've been really focused on that, and our pre-K plays an important role in that, because it's getting students in there early, making sure they have those really strong foundational reading skills, so that when they get to that 4th, 5th, 6th grade, and eventually high school level, that they can really take complex text, they can grapple with it, and they can make meaning from it.
We're having a delightful visit this morning with Dr. Trey Duke, who is the director of schools for the Murfreesboro City Schools, brings a passion, brings an energy level, brings a motivation, and brings just a phenomenal spirit to not only our community, but the children of today and the children of tomorrow. We'll be right back.
Chip Walters here with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. I was named a top 10 agent in the #1 Exit Realty office in America in 2021. The top question I get around town, how's the market? Good question. And the answer's changed a few times this year alone. I'd like to know what you've heard and share some solid data we have. Give me a call and let's have a cup of coffee and take a look at what's happening in your neighborhood. All my contact info is right on my website, choosechip.net. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Hey fellas, need an annual health exam for work or just to start the year prioritizing your health? I recommend Low T Center to get your complete health assessment. They check all your levels, not just your testosterone. Typically, it's completely covered by most health insurance, and if you don't have insurance, it's less than $100 for full labs and an office visit with the provider. Low T Center specializes in men's health, making it quick and easy. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
MTSU Arts, together with the Sin Federal Credit Union, invites you to the exhibition The Shape of Now in Todd Art Gallery from March 16th through April 11th. The show will feature the work of ceramics artists from the Pacific Northwest to New England. Visit mtsu.edu/mtsuarts for more information.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
When a family member is lost as a result of someone else's negligence, the grief can be unbearable. It also leaves you with a lot of questions like, how did this happen? Who's responsible? And is my family going to be okay? That's a lot to go through, but with the law offices of John Day on your side, you don't have to go through any of it alone. We understand what you're going through, and we have the experience to get the answers, justice, and compensation your family deserves. Call the law offices of John Day.
What's happening around town, you're about to learn on WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Habitat for Humanity's Comedy Night will be Thursday night, March the 9th, 6 o'clock, over at the Embassy Suites. The tickets are $50, and that includes dinner and the comedy show. Ventriloquist Taylor Mason is the guest star. For information, call Habitat for Humanity. And the morning after that, Friday morning, March 10th, it's the Red Cross Heroes Breakfast in the ballroom at MTSU's Student Union Building. And they're honoring posthumously Mark Pirtle, along with a special Volunteer Spotlight Award for Dr. Gloria Bonner. Again, the Red Cross Heroes Breakfast, Friday morning, March 10th at 7:30 in MTSU's Student Union Ballroom. Don't throw away Old Glory. Bring your tattered American flag to WGNS and let the girls from BSA Troop 2019 at Trinity United Methodist Church retire it with dignity. Plus, we also recycle Bibles. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. A wind advisory goes into effect early on Friday morning. First for this afternoon, mostly cloudy skies, a chance for some showers with highs in the upper 60s. I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll, News Radio WGNS, currently 58 degrees.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE Sharing Change has now donated more than $11 million to local nonprofits assisting worthy causes in our community. MTE, serving to make life better since 1936.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Good morning again. This is Bill Krause on the Roundtable on a beautiful Thursday morning here at WGNS, and we're having a wonderful visit with a gentleman that certainly is the poster boy of education as far as I'm concerned. Dr. Trey Duke, who yesterday celebrated his 2 years as Director of Schools for the Murfreesboro City Schools. We're very grateful for one of our listeners who called in during the break and was asking literally about waivers. May have been more interested in the upper schools with sports waivers, but talk about waivers recently as a result of state law.
Sure. So we are, of course, a zone school system, which means every school has a zone that they pull students from, but we do have an open zone waiver period where if we have available seats at certain schools, that parents can apply for a zone waiver to attend a school that's outside of their traditional zone. We're actually in that period right now. So again, you can go to our website, which is www.cityschools.net, and you can see which of our schools have open seats for next school year. And between now and March 17th, you can fill out and complete a zone waiver if you would like to attend one of those schools. So we have schools like Bradley who have a focus on the performing arts. In fact, this weekend, the Bradley Academy students are going to be doing the Music Man.
Oh, really?
Yes, this for Friday and Saturday, so come out to Patterson Park Theater and see that. We also, of course, have 8 STEM schools that focus on science, technology, engineering, and math, and we have a really strong STEM program here in the district. In fact, Murfreesboro City has the highest percentage of STEM accredited schools of any district in the state of Tennessee.
Wow.
And so we're really proud of those. So several of our STEM schools have openings. So parents can go, they can look at that, the options that we have, they can fill out a waiver. And then the way the state law is actually written is all those waivers come in, and if we get more waiver requests, then we have spots at the school, then we do a lottery, and we hold a lottery, and we allow those, we choose the parents based on lottery to attend those open zone seats. So we also have Discovery School, which their application process has closed, but that's our academic magnet school. Continues to be a high performing, high achieving school here in the city that we're really proud of as well.
The record of success has just been unbelievable. And it isn't just test scores, it isn't just numbers. It's the fact of you look at the young men and young women coming out of the 6th grade, going into the middle schools. In fact, several weeks ago we had your counterpart with Rutherford County, Dr. Sullivan. And Dr. Sullivan gave a great amount of credit to you and the Murfreesboro City Schools for being a perfect lead-in to their education goals and educational opportunities and objectives. So I think, the teamwork that goes from K actually up through MTSU. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that's a major source of teachers for you.
It is, and I really appreciate Dr. Sullivan's comment, and I would echo those, right? At the end of the day, it takes all of us to make our community great, and I truly believe that the foundation of a strong community is a strong public school system that makes sure every child gets what they need. And so they do great work in the county school system, and we're proud to partner with them. And then, of course, MTSU as well. We have a great partnership with MTSU. As a school system, we work with their students in the undergrad phase. We work with their graduate programs, and we want to make sure that as people may come to Murfreesboro to come to school and to go to school at MTSU, they're obviously going to love the city as much as we do. So when they're ready to go into the workforce, we want them to stay here, and we'll give them a job.
I think next time I have the mayor or vice mayor, member of the city council, I'm going to give them a new slogan for the city of Murfreesboro. Not only is it the center of Tennessee geographically, it's the center of quality education from pre-K, I have to say pre-K, up through the doctorate degree.
That's right.
When you really think of the opportunity, the quality opportunity that exists in this community, all of us in Rutherford County can be so appreciative and grateful to the many men and women who are dedicating themselves to making this excellent. And not only is a community's excellence geared by education, a nation's excellence is geared by education. You have a very strong relationship in liaison with the state legislature, primarily because of their influence on the quality of education.
And our state reps are really great to work with us. Obviously, as we think about right now, they're in the General Assembly. They're working right now through the process and looking at legislation and looking at laws. And I know they have goals that they're trying to accomplish and things they want to see for the state. They're wonderful to reach out and to take our calls and to take our questions and our concerns. And even if times we may not agree on what's happening and what the outcome may be, it's really wonderful to have a local legislative body and delegation that's willing to talk and to listen and to say, how is this going to impact you? And our representatives have been good to do that.
Most people are not aware that for many, many companies that consider a relocation to another community or another state, it isn't the taxes, it isn't the incentives. That's the number one draw. It's the education and the quality of education for future employees in that organization.
Absolutely.
And when the major companies have looked at Tennessee, one of the first things they look at and are impressed in, especially in Middle Tennessee, the urban areas, is the quality of education.
Which is one of the reasons we want to have that strong focus on STEM directly here in Murfreesboro City, because we know what we want to do is we want to show organizations and companies who want to relocate to this area that we are building them a future workforce, and we are building those science and technology skills into our students as young as kindergarten. And that's not a new concept that we're saving for high school. We're doing it early, we're giving them those experiences, and we continue to be recognized across the state for that. And our goal is to lead. We want to lead on the science and technology standpoint with STEM. We want to lead in the literacy standpoint. Yesterday, and we actually hosted a group from New York who came to tour one of our schools to see what we were doing with literacy. Back earlier this month, or at the beginning of February, we hosted about 40 educational leaders from across the country, again in our schools, to see what we were doing. And we want to be a leader in the social emotional supports of our students, specifically with students who may need additional mental health and mental wellness. And so we have a focus in Murfreesboro City to make sure we have supports for students who may need those types of supports as well. We're really focused on taking care of the entire student and making sure we can wrap around that student so they can be productive citizens as they grow.
We've certainly, like everyone knows, went through the pandemic. Some miserable times that we all endured. Talk about the pandemic and its immediate impact on Murfreesboro City Schools and its students, and post-pandemic times. Are we pulling out of it? Are we having a resurgence and a renaissance of education as a result of it?
You know, it was a challenging time to be a school leader. I was a principal when the pandemic first hit, and then director of schools as it began to officially kind of wind down. And it was a really challenging time to go through something that none of us had ever experienced before. I'm proud of what we did in Murfreesboro City. Of course, when it first hit in March of 2020, when the world shut down, we did shut down our schools from March until May with the rest of the world, and those those 12 weeks that many of us were home. But that next school year, we came back, and I'm proud to say that in Murfreesboro City, we always had an in-person option for students. And I think that really made a difference. Now, we absolutely accommodated for families that felt more comfortable learning from home and doing Zoom from home. And we did that, and we were able to do that. But I was so proud to say, even through some of the really high numbers we saw last year, we were still able to keep schools open. We never had to close schools. And I think that's a big reason for some of the success we've had. Coming out of the pandemic, we still continue to show that despite those initial kind of losses, we've made really rapid gains, specifically in reading. I've talked a lot about literacy. It's a passion of mine. We had some of the highest gains we've ever had last year coming out of the pandemic, and that's because our teachers knew and stayed committed to doing what was right for kids, and we kept our doors opened, and we kept students in schools, and it's really showing, and we're seeing that benefit now.
You know, it's interesting when you mentioned reading as a passion. Once a month on a weekend, I do 2 workshops for 2 library branches in Davidson County, Carnegie Writers Group, and I marvel, and I even talked about this with our branch librarian at Limbaugh a couple of weeks ago, Carol on the air, to watch parents bring in preschoolers and young children into the library, and they are so excited checking out a book or checking out 2 books or 3 books and so forth. And the purpose of a parent and a grandparent to encourage the writing process is so fantastic. And it pays dividends in their life, not only professionally, educationally, but life itself.
Absolutely. And we love our partnerships with parents, and we want to partner with parents. I'm glad you brought that up. But that whole point of making sure that we have a strong literacy base where our students can read and can write, again, not just to pass a test, but ultimately so that they can get information, that they can digest it, they can internalize it, and then they can make sense of it and then push back on it, and then they can form educated opinions on it. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we have all of our students have the tools to be success, and we know that starts with strong literacy.
Let's go back one more time to post-pandemic. People were confined to their homes. People did not socialize. They did not interact. And I'm sure that's the area of investigation of, I'm sure, plenty of doctoral dissertations being conducted. Did you notice a difference, or have you measured a difference of behavior of the child once they came back into the traditional social setting?
You know, behavior is something that we always want to make sure that we have our eye on, because we know that we have to have that controlled, and we have to have the supports in place for that so that they can reach those academic goals. I will say we have seen some increases in certain types of behaviors, especially in some of our younger students, and that we feel that is most likely attributed because during a lot of their preschool years or years when normally they would be interacting with other children their age, that wasn't the setup, and they weren't able to do that. So we really focus on what can we do to support those students now. So we are proud of the behavioral supports we offer. We just signed or just were able to receive a $1.5 million grant that for over the next 5 years allows us to hire three mental health professionals to work in our district to really go in there and help teach students and provide services to students who may need help with self-regulation, who may need help with learning how to handle disappointment, who may need help with some additional supports in place, and also provide supports for students who may be going through traumatic events, maybe the death of a family member, maybe a divorce situation, maybe the death of a beloved grandparent, whatever that may be. We're really proud of that support team we have in place to help make sure students have the behavioral supports they need, whether it's being taught how to help regulate, how to help have productive conversations when we disagree, and then for supports for students who may be going through traumatic events as well.
I'm sure you also have the process that all of your teachers are trained to look for warning signs.
Absolutely.
And the process of what you do when you see a warning sign.
You know, our schools are often the place where a lot of things come to light, and that really is because our teachers have strong relationships with our students. And our teachers, when you see a child day in, day out, when you have that relationship, it often is our teachers who's the first one to say, hey, something doesn't feel right, something doesn't sound right. And so we do make sure our teachers have the skills, and our school counselors and our school administrators, to help pick up on that and to make sure that we can hopefully intervene and take appropriate steps in the unfortunate case if that's needed.
Let's go back to after-school programs. You have a number of children in after-school programs now?
We do. We have close to almost 3,000 students that attend our extended school program.
That's a third of your enrollment.
Yeah, it's a great program. We open our doors every morning at every school at 6 a.m. So we have both our before school extended school program and we have our after school extended school program, which goes to 6 o'clock p.m.
At all schools?
All schools. So every school is open 6 to 6. We have a great team of directors and site directors that oversee that program. And I always tell our parents, and it's one of the benefits of myself being a parent whose child went through this program, it's not daycare. It's not just they're sitting and playing.
And
there's a lot of playing.
cradles.
Yeah, there's a lot of playing on the playground, which is great. But it's also robotics club. It's cooking clubs. It's different types of technology clubs. We have all types of programs that our students can do before and after school that just really is amazing. Gardening clubs. We have a great farm to school program in Murfreesboro City Schools.
Wow.
We actually have several full-time farmers that work with us, farmer educators. We have gardens at most every campus that we see where students can get out in that garden. I'm not sure what's being planted right now, but something is always being harvested at our schools. And so, again, really making that real world connection as we study. It's just our extended school program is just a great tool we have to make sure that, again, parents' needs are met. I'm a working parent. My working hours go outside of the traditional school day. So we love being able to offer this to our families.
We'll be right back. We're having a great visit with the Director of Schools for Murfreesboro City Schools, Dr. Trey Duke, and we'll be returning for the third and final segment in just a moment.
Learn to make money 5 ways with rental real estate. Double your money with apartments and get your map to financial freedom. And that map starts with a free workshop. Sign up now at lifestylesunlimited.com. Click on the Join Free Workshop tab and attend online or in person. That's lifestylesunlimited.com. Lifestylesunlimited.com. Again, that's lifestylesunlimited.com. Limited seating, unlimited potential.
This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center. Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet, burning pain, balance problems, and decreased quality of life? Magnolia Medical Center can help.
Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro. Online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstireprostn.com.
This is David Jacobs with the Happy Book Stack. We are definitely a family price bookstore with the average book selling between $3 and $4. From novels to board games to vinyl, we have you covered at the Happy Book Stack.
The Happy Book Stack on Mark Allen Lane behind the Driver's License Testing Center.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is Bill Krause, third and final segment of this wonderful, beautiful Thursday morning here at WGNS on the Roundtable, and we are having a super visit with one of the leaders of education in our community, Dr. Trey Duke, who yesterday celebrated his second year as Director of Schools for Murfreesboro City Schools. One of the things, you did your doctoral dissertation on what topic?
Yes, my doctoral dissertation was actually on a goal-setting process that's used really in the private industry. It's a popular goal-setting process called OKRs, which stands for Objectives and Key Results. It's used at places like YouTube and Google, and my dissertation topic was on taking that process and applying it to the classroom, that goal-setting method with teachers, and the impact it would have in the education setting, and did we see those same results as we saw in the business setting as well?
And using the word goals, I'm sure you're up at nights having dreams and goals and objectives of what you see as the perfect, if there's such a word as perfect, dealing with human beings, but the perfect setting for the Murfreesboro City Schools. What are your dreams and hopes and passion for the future?
Man, I really want to continue this great work we're doing, and you know, I'm going to say from a very kind of strategic standpoint, I would encourage people to go to our website. We have a 5-year strategic plan there that really outlines our goals for where we want to be in a really concrete way that we look at. Our board developed that last year. We're 1 year into that plan, and we have some really good concrete goals there. Personally, what I want to see, I want us to continue to be a leader. Like I said, we are a leader in this state when it comes to STEM education. We're a leader in this state when it comes to the implementation of high quality instructional materials with literacy. We're a leader when it comes to behavioral and mental health supports. I want us to continue to be a leader in this state in those areas. I want us to have great pay for teachers, great support for teachers, and at the end of the day, I want our community to feel like Murfreesboro City Schools is a valued part of the community that's adding to this great city and attracting businesses and attracting people to come and live here because of what we're doing in our classrooms.
And, you know, I see you, based upon what you share, based upon what I hear, based upon what I observe, you will not be just the leader in the state of Tennessee. You will be one of those school districts in the nation that people will visit and see, just as you've had some visiting delegations from outside our state recently.
You know, we have great things going on here, and it's great for the country and for, like you said, these visiting delegations to come and see the great things we're doing. But I want to make sure our community knows the value they have and the great things that our classroom teachers and our school principals are doing every day, because it really is making a difference.
Well, one of the things I've noted in our visit this morning, and it's really fascinating dealing with a public service person who's totally dedicated to achievement of objectives. You have spent much of your time talking about the quality of education rather than the quantity of schools. You could have been here and said, well, we're going to add 4 new campuses in the next 3 years. We expect our enrollment to go from 9 to 12,000. We're going to be the fastest growing school district in numbers. And a lot of quality of time is reflected in measuring numbers of growth. And you are certainly working with growth, significant growth of both Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, but you are so committed to the quality of that growth.
Yeah, and that's really important to us because, and I look at the growth, and we are dealing with growth, and we are growing at a really rapid pace, and we are always evaluating how do we keep up with that in a way that is both fiscally responsible, but at the end of the day, we want to keep that quality of programming high, and that's really our focus, is keeping that quality high and making the tweaks along the way to accommodate for the growth. We know we're going to need a new school here in the next couple of years. We know that that's coming. It's inevitable with the growth we're seeing in Rutherford County and in Murfreesboro City directly, because again, people want to be here, people want to live here. It's a great place to live, and schools have to react to that. When families come in, we want to make sure that the reason they came, and we believe one of those is a great school system, that great system is in place for their families and the families yet to come.
Do you see, for example, that growth reflective of larger schools or more enrollment at the schools, larger classes? What's your class limit, 32? Is it?
Actually, no. We for the grade bands we reach for kindergarten through 3rd grade, it's a 1-to-20 ratio.
Oh, fantastic.
And that's the state ratio. And then for our 4th through 6th graders, it's 1-to-25. We actually work hard to keep those classes under those ratios. We want to make sure that we can provide that attention to detail and the attention to the students that they need. So we, of course, follow those state ratios, but our goal is always to keep it. We like to say that sweet spot is that 1 to 20 ratio for sure.
Is that the state standard throughout Tennessee?
That is the state standard.
I don't know how many people realize that, because coming from California, California had a max of 32 in the elementary schools. And a teacher
that's much larger than we do here.
And what was fascinating, some years ago when the state of California was voting on having a state lottery, and it was a huge, huge political issue, and the question of the lottery was that a significant amount of the proceeds were going to go to fund education. And there was a proposal to cut the class size from 32 to 16, and the measurement of quality of education where a teacher had a ratio of 1 to 16. It was voted upon based upon that premise, but it wasn't that many years later that it sneaked back up to 32. Do you have a lot of teaching assistants in the classroom?
We have a lot of teaching assistants in our buildings. Each school principal kind of uses those differently based on the needs. So we have right now in our what we call our general or a typical population, about 1 for every 100 students. We have a teaching assistant that works with several classrooms. Now that doesn't count the many educational assistants that we have that work in our special populations, whether that's our English as a second language program or our special education program. So we have a lot of assistants that work in those programs. That's really based on need to help make sure, again, for our most vulnerable students, that we have those supports that they need.
Would you encourage and motivate people to apply for becoming a teaching assistant, not for an hourly rate job, but for something that they can have 1 foot in education and 1 foot in their lives, and as a not a full-time job? Would you encourage people to apply
absolutely.
for TA?
And it's a great position, especially if you have children in the school system, because your hours are your students' hours or your children's hours. And so it's a great job for parents who may have students in the school system that want to have off when the children are off, that want to have those summers off and those winter breaks and spring breaks off. So we would really encourage you to try it. And I can't tell you the number of teaching assistants that we've had that have gone on to become teachers, and if that's something they're interested in, we can help with the pathway to that. We're partnering with MTSU right now to come up with another pathway that we can take people who may not have a teaching degree, be interested in it, get it in a really quick way, quality way through MTSU, and affordable.
And related to that, the substitute pool. How does somebody become a substitute? Are there needs for substitutes? Does the schedules vary? Are you on call continually?
We always have need for great substitutes. I appreciate you putting that out there. One thing different about our school system than maybe other school systems is we don't contract that out. So our substitutes are our employees. So you actually apply with Murfreesboro City Schools to be a substitute teacher. You're on our payroll. You go through our training. And the great thing about being a substitute is you can work as little or as much to a point as you would like. And we always have that need for substitutes. We always have openings because, again, we're an organization of people, and so our teachers, they get sick, their children get sick, they have personal events. So we want to make sure that when that teacher is out of the classroom, we have high-quality individuals to step in, and we could not do that without our substitutes who just truly are amazing.
I was amazed at the statistic you gave me off air was that roughly 1/3 of your 9,000 students are bused.
Yes, yeah, we have quite a few. Yes, we have a large number of students who take our transportation system. And again, we're always looking for great bus drivers. If that's something you're interested in, we will train you. We will help pay for that testing to get you tested. And if you're not sure you want to do it, we actually are, again, one of the few districts, we have a bus aid position, which is just an extra adult on the bus. So while the bus driver's driving, someone to help kind of, manage 90 students who may be on a bus. So that's a great way to get in there too, is you can actually come on, we'll hire you as a bus aide as you go through the training process. And then when you get that bus driver credentials, if that's what you're looking for, we'll help you get that and put you behind the wheel of a bus.
We asked Dr. Sullivan this, and I'm going to ask you the question also. How is the decision made to not have school because of weather?
It's a very, listen, when I got this job, I thought it would be so fun to call my first snow day, and I learned really quickly it is a very, very stressful decision. One of the things they don't teach you when you get your administrator degree or your doctorate degree in education is how to tell the weather, and maybe they need to add that course there. But it takes really a lot of collaboration. When we start watching the weather, if we see that weather's coming in, we, of course, begin as an internal team, start talking. That's myself with my operations assistant, with my transportation director, with our communications team. We reach out to Murfreesboro Police Department, to the city roads, if it's a snow event. So it's really a collaborative effort. At the end of the day, someone has to be the one to make the final call, and that falls on my shoulders. I know every time I do it, if I have to cancel school, I'm inconveniencing a lot of families who have to work, and I take that really seriously. But at the end of the day, safety is the most important thing. And so how do we make sure we can get students to school safely? That's my number one goal.
And because of the significant numbers on busing, and I know Rutherford County had this question that everything may be all right in a urban area, but when you have busing go out into the very rural areas where the roads are totally icy, the snow may not be on the ground, rain may be falling, but not flooding. But once you get the ice on the road, you don't want a school bus out there.
And that's one of the good things about being in the city for us, and most of all of our schools being in the city and our residents being in the city, is we don't have as many rural areas to deal with as the county has to deal with. But we definitely have areas that we watch and slick spots that just don't get a whole lot of sun in the winter, and when they get icy, it takes them a while to defrost.
And you don't necessarily want to put salt on the playground.
Yeah, that's right.
We are concluding our visit with Dr. Trey Duke, who is the Director of Schools for the Murfreesboro City Schools. If you're not as optimistic about Murfreesboro before this program began, please join me in being extremely optimistic about the future when the education and lives of our children, pre-K through 6th grade, and also 7th grade through 12th grade, and also undergraduate and graduate in our community are being well served. Thank you so very much for being with us, and we'll have you back in a few months and talk more about the progress and status of the Murfreesboro City Schools.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network, WGNS, Murfreesboro, Smyrna, flagship station for MTSU Sports. Courthouse clock time, 10 o'clock.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the movies.
Check out what's showing at murfreesboromovies.com. Popcorn popped fresh daily.
Movies like the good old premises.
Premier 6 on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Hey bargain hunters, listen up. This is Rodney French from French's Shoes and Boots. If bargain prizes is what you want, come to French's and shop our everyday bargain racks. These shoes and boots are out of the boxes and are always 50 to 90% off the regular retail prices. Shoe brands like Cole Haan, Joseph Seibel, Clark's, Nike, and more. Boot brands like Justin, Ariat, Corral, Chippewa, Dan Post, and many more. Out of the box, but 50 to 90% off every day. That's French's Shoes and Boots.
French's Shoes and Boots.
1837 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Hi, this is Bob Cornell, pastor of Covenant Church right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The answer that you've been looking for is found in Jesus and what